Time for PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin. Dr. Bob guides you through the latest veterinary techniques and procedures to keep your pets in the best of health. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. With your ears up and tails wagging, here is Dr. Bob.
Well, welcome to another week of PetSylvania, and I'm sure happy to be here. And so we'll get the advertising out of the way first. Thanks again to Elanco, the makers of Trifexis and Comfortis, and they make some other really good quality pharmaceuticals. They make a product called Reconcile that is a canine-approved and tested Prozac for separation anxiety and other anxiety problems. So, you know, there's an awful lot of dogs that suffer from forms of anxiety, and so Reconcile could be a good choice for your dog, and you should inquire about that if that's a concern. In a future broadcast, we'll talk a little bit about separation anxiety and how to manage that and what kind of a significant problem that is. Sylvania Vet is the other sponsor, and of course that's my office, and I'm very always excited to talk about my office. And one of the things that we have that is totally unique to our practice region, Northwest Ohio, Southwest Michigan, is physical rehabilitation. We would call that, for you or I, we would call that physical therapy. We have an underwater treadmill, and we have a complete handout of a set of techniques that we use to help dogs recover from injury, from surgery, from back problems. And then we also use the underwater treadmill to help arthritic dogs, aged dogs, dogs with degenerative diseases of the spine to exercise and stay stronger and stay mobile for a much longer time. We position ourselves as a regional veterinary asset because of the large variety of things that we can provide. And so we're called a pet care destination because you can come and at one destination you can get everything you need. So in Northwest Ohio, nothing's too far to drive. And you only come to the vet maybe once or twice a year, 2-3 times on average. And so it's certainly worth it. And many of you will travel greater distances to go to a restaurant, or you'll travel to go to your hairdresser that you had before you moved to the other end of town, or your physician or your dentist. You should be thinking the same thing about your veterinarian, that we are a practice that is worth driving to. When you control your dog and you walk your dog, we want it to be a walk, not a drag. There are things and tools that in the form of collars that you can use that will help you. One of the collars, and I just fitted one today on a dog, and I did one last week where we actually did a little walk in the park lesson with this client, and we use a product called a gentle leader. And gentle leader is just a head collar. It's like a halter on a horse. It has some dynamic movement. It works because, one, you have control of the pet's head, but it also works because the bridge of the nose, where the nose strap crosses, and the back of the head, where the headband crosses, are both submissive pressure points in a dog. And so we're stimulating those sites, and we're trying to make them so that they're a little bit more willing to be cooperative and walk along with us the way that we want to. Our trainer, and many trainers in the area, use a collar that's called Martingale, and it is also a very effective collar, and it's safe, and they can't tighten up in a way that would choke the dog. And that's ultimately the goal of any collars, is we don't want the collar to cause pain, which then would mean the no-no collars are the prong collars, because they do, as they tighten down, cause pain. And then I'm not a big fan of choker chains, because I think that the name implies that you have to choke your dog to use it properly, and nothing could be farther from the truth. It should pass a signal to the dog to be better behaved, but of course you've had to teach him some manners. We carry a line of leashes and collars called Lupine, and the really nice thing about Lupine collars is that they're guaranteed for life. And so regardless of why they would break down, including your dog chewing them up, they replace them free, no questions asked, for the life of the leash. It's a great product, really well made. It's a really good thing to use. As far as leashes are concerned, I'm absolutely opposed to retractable leashes of any length. They are not not good. They can be dangerous because they can get wrapped around your finger, and if the dog takes off, have been injuries with people losing fingers. There's actually a disclaimer on the package about the severity of potential injuries, and certainly rope burns if that slides through your hand when it's on full extension. But from a behavioral perspective, you have no control over your dog. They're out of your sphere of control, and that's not the way to guide your dog on a walk so that it's best. And I'm not a big fan of chain leashes either, and I'm not sure why anybody would use one. But if you take a chain leash and the dog pulls you around a door jamb, you really trash the door jamb. And if you've got that in your hands and it's a cold day out, that would be uncomfortable. And if you pull that chain through your hand, it would also be painful. I like a good wideband leather leash, 5 or 6 feet long. Alternative to that would be a nylon leash with a good handle, a handle big enough to get your hand through, so that you aren't holding on to the dog with just your grip, but you've got it wrapped around your wrist. Kind of like those of you that are skiers, when you put your ski poles on. It's not just to keep the poles from flying down the hill. It's designed to help a wrist support the pole plant. So you want to have your hand through the leash, and then you want to grab a hold of the leash handle, so it needs to be big enough for you to do that. Wednesday, the 14th, the Best of Toledo in the Toledo City paper started, and Sylvania Vet has won 5 years in a row. We'd like to make it a half a dozen. So please do me a favor if you're listening, get you and your family to go online at ToledoCityPaper.com and go to the Best of voting category, and you have to vote in 30 different categories. There's about 70, so you have plenty of choices of where to vote. But what I want you to do is I for sure want you to vote for Sylvania Vet as Best Veterinarian. And then I'd also like to recommend that you vote for Best Not-Profit for Paw's Sake, which is a terrific animal rescue organization that we work very closely with. So please go on to ToledoCityPaper.com or get one of the newspapers, and there's a ballot in the paper, and you can send that in to them. And this will go on until the end of the first issue in December. So roughly about a month, voting will go on. So you have plenty of time. I'd like each and every one of you to please be responsible for getting 5 votes for Sylvania Vet and for Paw's Sake. For Paw's Sake is the number 4, Paws, P-A-W-S, S-A-K-E. Hopefully we would both love to win, and both, to me, in my mind, are deserving. When we have to see a dog that comes in and it has an eye problem, in most cases we're going to do, in addition to visualizing what's going on and taking a good history and looking at the amount of discharge that's coming and looking and seeing if the eyelids are swollen and if tissues on the inside of the eye are swollen, then we're going to evaluate the eye more completely, and we're going to start with a test called a Schirmer tear test. We're testing for amount of tear production. A lot of dogs, particularly as they age, their tear production wanes and the eyes start to dry out, and that can lead to a very uncomfortable eye. We've all been there if we've been out on a hot, dry day and had our eyes dry, and we know what it feels like. We then do a stain called a fluorescein stain. It's a green stain that fluoresces under a black light, and we're looking for the integrity of the corneal surface, the cornea being the clear part of the eye. And then the third thing that we do is that we do a pressure test called a tonopen, which is evaluating for glaucoma. And those 3 tests are the tests that the ophthalmology specialists do absolutely every time they examine an animal's eye. That's their base testing. It is our base testing as well. Come in, be prepared to see those tests performed, and they're kind of interesting to observe. So that's it for the first portion of tonight's PetSylvania. Got a big announcement to make when we come back. So I said we had a big announcement. The programming on WSYL.FM is going to change a little bit. There's going to be a live show going on Saturday mornings from 9 until noon. So PetSylvania is going to move to noon on December the 1st. On Saturday, December the 1st, will be the first broadcast of PetSylvania at the new time of noon. We will still be on at noon on Mondays and 7 p.m. on Thursdays. Tune in at 10. I'm not going to be there. You're going to be listening to some rock and roll. Write it down so that you can plan your entire day around being able to listen to a half an hour of Dr. Bob on PetSylvania at noon on Saturdays. We constantly are looking for new ways to get pills down dogs and cats, and there's a variety of commercial products out there. We use a lot of a product called a pill pocket, which is made by the people that make greenies. It's a great product. Great many animals love them and will take their pills hidden in pill pockets. But things that you can do at home, sometimes you can crush a pill up and you can mix it in with a little bit of peanut butter, put it on a piece of bread. You'll have the dog will take it willingly like that. You can hide it in a marshmallow. Dogs have sweet tooth, so they'll eat a marshmallow. Cats, interestingly, don't have the ability to taste sweet, and so using something that tastes sweet isn't going to make any difference for them. Canned cheese, peanut butter, piece of hot dog, piece of string cheese hollowed out, any of those things, anything you can do, offer a variety of things so they never know which one has the pill in it, because sometimes they get smarter than we are, and we have to try to outwit them on an almost daily basis. So that's part of the challenge of owning a pet. And the best thing to do is get them, when they're puppies and kittens, get them used to having you put your finger in their mouth and open their mouth and use a piece of food and kind of shove it down, and get them used to having that done, so that when they're older and maybe they're not feeling well and they're a little bit grumpy, you'll be able to get that pill down them. That should be helpful for you. Dogs and cats suffer a lot of stresses, and interestingly enough, they manifest in a variety of ways. In a cat, they can actually become physically ill, or their stress might lead to spraying in the house or pottying outside the litter box. And in dogs, it can be anywhere from trying to dig their way into the basement during a storm to going and hiding in a closet again during the storm, or shying away when a stranger comes down the sidewalk or comes to the front door of the house. Certainly leaving the home for some animals can be stressful. So there's a variety of approaches that we take to try to help these animals. And I always start with some semblance of a behavior modification program, trying to figure out how can we improve this, how can we eliminate the stress, how can we make it so that it's not medication dependent. And then what we do is that we move to some homeopathic products, a product called Angstane, which is a purified L-theanine, another product that contains the L-theanine along with a couple of other products, but it's a homeopathic, it's called Compose. We've had some really good success with that, and the dogs seem to really like to enjoy taking those, so it's given like a treat, and that really works. And then if we have to go into pharmaceuticals, alprazolam, which is the brand name of Xanax, and then the Reconcile that I mentioned earlier, which is Prozac, and then there are a variety of other anti-anxiety medications. Clomipramine comes to mind that we can use. The topical flea control products, there's some new studies that have been coming out for all the topical flea control products, and we're finding that they just aren't lasting as long as they used to. And so unfortunately, that's the front line, that's the Advantage, that's the Advantix, that's any of those topicals. Certainly the Sargents and some of those over-the-counter products that you get in the grocery stores and the pet stores, they have very little staying power. They just don't work. And there have been some really excellent studies done by Dr. Dryden at Kansas State, who's considered an external parasite guru within the profession, and so that leads us to the oral products, Trifexis and Comfortis, and those are really great products. And I want to encourage you to use those and use them year round. We need year round flea control as well as year round heartworm control in both our dogs and cats. I had a frantic client call the other night about 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody should have been in bed, but the next thing you know, they're calling us because the dog had just come in. It had gotten hit square in the face and the shoulders from a skunk. And they wanted to know what they could do. What should I do? I've heard that using tomato juice is effective. And the reality is that tomato juice should not be your the first thing you grab, because what I'm about to tell you won't work as well if you've done anything, including bathing. There's a formula that you can use that will help deodorize and eliminate that odor from your dog or your cat should it happen. So you mix a pint of hydrogen peroxide, a teaspoon of Dawn dishwasher liquid and a quarter of a cup of baking soda. You soak the dog down thoroughly. Now, obviously, a big dog may take more than a pint of hydrogen peroxide. You just have to adjust from there. But once you get it on and you get it worked on, and I would sure suggest you wear rubber gloves when you do that, then you work it in and you let it sit about 10 minutes. And you rinse it off thoroughly. Still have a kind of a strong odor. I'd do it again. And then after you've done that again, I'd probably give it a good bath at that point. There'll still be a little bit of residual odor, and that can be there for days and days no matter what you do. I had a client in today that saw a case that we're taking care of that was found as a stray. It's on Facebook. If you wanted to go and see about this case, you could go to Help Save Lola on Facebook. You'll see some pictures of this dog that was found as a stray. It had a chain collar embedded into its neck. It had dug well in. It has a dislocated hip. It was very undernourished. Dog, we just saw it really starting to recover very nicely. After it's all said and done, we're going to have to take it to surgery to operate its injured leg, but it's going to be fine ultimately. So the question was, is that a pit bull? And she says, I'm afraid of pit bulls. And I said, that's probably not rational to be afraid of pit bulls. We suffered the consequences of a dog warden who singled them out for single breed legislation and made them into an animal that they were not. And pit bulls are great dogs. We have many in our blood donor colony. We have pit bull dogs that come regularly to our daycare and interact with the larger dogs and the smaller dogs, and everything is great. I told her, I said, I could probably think right off the top of my head 8 or 10 dogs that I think are a lot less trustworthy and could injure you more seriously than a pit bull. And so I'm hoping that she's a little more confident now when they're getting ready to go be snowbirds and they're going to go down to the dog beach, and she always worries if she sees a pit bull down there. But again, there really is no such thing as a pit bull. It's just an appearance diagnosis. They certainly have looks. And the good news is that we all know about the Michael Vick story. There were about 53 dogs that were taken out of the Michael Vick situation before he went to prison. And the reality is that out of those 53 dogs, 50 of them have been rehabilitated, are still alive, and are thriving in single-family households. And so it just goes to show you that even if they've been trained to be nasty, the pit bull can be turned around. That's because they're a very bright dog. Pit bull problems are not a problem of dog. They are a problem of people. And that's really what you need to keep in mind, because I'm a big fan of pit bulls, and I had a lot to do with helping get rid of single breed legislation and a dog warden that chose to enforce that in Lucas County. I think the Lucas County dog warden is doing a really good job right now. So it's time to take a break, and we'll be back on the other side. Well, here we are about ready to wrap things up. Time to wish you happy Thanksgiving. And of course, the Buckeyes play this afternoon against Wisconsin, so go Bucks. So happy Thanksgiving and go Bucks. And then I want to thank Elanco, the makers of Trifexis, Comfortis, and Reconcile. I want you to come in and check our prices before you buy any of those products from anyone else. I want you to check our prices, because I think you're going to be amazed at how much less our price for those products is. We want to make those products affordable because we want you to use them year-round. Sylvania Veterinary Hospital is a 24/7 pet care destination. That means almost anything that you could possibly want or need for your pet is under one roof, and if we don't have it, we will do our very best to get it for you at a reasonable price. We have an adopt-a-thon on Sunday, the 17th, from noon to 3 at the Learning Center at the Sylvania Vet. So come on down, bring the family, take a look at the animals that are going to be there from the rescue organizations. And while you're there, sign up for Santa Pictures. We have Santa Pet Pictures on Sunday, December the 2nd, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that, 10 to 2. Cost is going to be $22. A portion of that is going to be donated to our charitable foundation, the Memories Live On Animal Foundation. So again, thanks Elanco, thanks Sylvania Vet, happy Thanksgiving, go Bucks. Remember, there's only one greatest pet, and it lives in your home.
You have been listening to PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin on WSYLradio.com. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. Tune in every Saturday at 10 a.m. as Dr. Bob explains the latest in veterinary care and answers your questions. You can email your pet questions to requests@wsylradio.com, and Dr. Bob will answer them on a future show.